Hey, good afternoon. I'm Valerie from the Hollywood Times, and we have Betsy, and I'm gonna let her say a little bit about herself.
Sure. Thank you, Valerie. I'm Betsy Kalin. I am an independent filmmaker. I specialize in social justice documentaries, and I have made several award-winning films, including East LA Interchange, Vision 2030, Chained, and I'm working now on a project called Lesbians in Boys Town, as well as Dreaming in Somali.
That's a lot. That's more than I even thought. My goodness, you stay busy. And where are you right now?
I'm located in Orlando, Florida. I'm also an assistant professor of film here at the University of Central Florida.
Oh my goodness, why did I think you were in New York?
I used to live in New York as well as West Hollywood.
Oh, okay. My goodness. All right. Well, I might come see you because I want to go back to Disney World. So,
Please come visit.
yeah, for sure. Well, I heard from women on the net that you had shown your film that might still be in progress,
Mhm.
called Lesbians in Boys Town, that may be even changing its name. So we can talk about all that in a minute. And I missed that women on the net because I guess maybe I hadn't read my fucking newsletter, as Andrea calls it. Um, Andrea Meyerson, a wonderful filmmaker that a lot of us know out here in the world. And so one of my friends contacted me and said, Valerie, weren't on the internet that night, and you got to see this film. So thank you for bringing it to my attention. And I was able to see it, and I was very impressed. How long ago was it that you started making the film?
So I started the film 2 years ago, and I am still in progress. So what I showed most recently was a 22-minute work in progress cut of the film. And my goals are to not only finish that version, but also add to it and make this a national story, because it is a national story. Everything that happened in West Hollywood, also happened in Chicago. It also happened in a number of other places around the country. So that's really my goal with the project.
Yeah, and I don't know how many film festivals you've been at recently. There, I, I usually cover television, critiquing, and it's just recently that I've got into more film, and I didn't realize how many film festivals there are. Maybe, and most of the filmmakers that I've talked to that I've interviewed recently, it's like it's blowing my mind how many film festivals there are. And a lot of them are attributing it to, now that COVID is somewhat over and people are really getting back on the road with them. But I'm just like swamped, and of course now we have, the strikes that have taken over. But a lot of them are still going on anyway, the film festivals, until they're getting sold and such. So obviously you haven't brought this film anywhere yet until something continues to happen till it's finished. So talk about
Yes.
that a little bit.
Yeah, so right now we're fundraising. We're trying to raise $10,000, and that will all go into the post-production costs for the film. So I was able to shoot and get it to this point, but now, I mean, post-production costs are things that I can't, do myself, basically. So I need to license all of the material in the film, and there's 300 different images and footage, archival footage, and everything. So I need to license all of that, as well as do sound mixing, color grading, all of those other post-production things. And And even buying drives. I mean, the drives for this project are, like $1,000.
Really?
So, for several drives. So all of those things are really what I'm, hoping to be able to raise the funding to finish it. And actually, I mean, if I'm able to raise it, I can have the film finished next summer. So that's really my
It's
goal.
fast. Good, good. Well, it's very powerful and it was educational for me. Even though, I'm a member of Outfest, I'm a major donor of Outfest. Have you attended any Outfest screening?
Yes, in fact, that's how I met my wife.
Oh, seriously? How
Yeah,
many
we're
years ago?
12 years
Oh
ago
my.
now. So we're both filmmakers, and all of my films have, screened at Outfest, and all of her films have screened at Outfest. And she was there with her film, and we met at the NBC Universal Mixer like 12 years ago.
Oh, interesting. Oh, well,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you.
How, were you living in LA then? Or, yeah,
Yeah, I just moved a couple of years ago. So
okay.
I was living in LA for most of my life.
Well, getting back to the film, I'm sure much of what has happened to the lesbian bar scene, which you talk a lot about that, is economic and related to, developers buying up prime real estate, on Santa Monica Boulevard. And this year, one of the films at Outfest was Studio One.
Mhm.
Um, you know, but getting back to the lesbian, AKA the Palms demise. But has there ever been an orchestrated gay backlash against lesbian businesses in WeHo?
No, I mean, I think it's just a question really of numbers. There's just so many more, gay men, like we talk about in the film. Like the statistics are, that it's predominantly men. And one of the things that the Palms did and the other bars before they ended up closing was that, of course, they became, not just women's spaces, but they opened it up to gay men as well to try and get, more business. But there wasn't a backlash per se. I think it was just, really hard to survive and really hard to survive in the economy at the time.
Mm, yeah. Well, because it was always very busy, so that was always like, how can you not survive? I mean, real estate with rent.
Yeah, it's crazy. And now it's even, worse. I think most of the bars closed in, the early 2010s. So, that again, if you look at the rents now and how many, small businesses have moved out of LA and West Hollywood, it's really hard. So I think that's part of it. I mean, we talk about, the loss of spaces for us to go and, as queer women, and there's, hope with the two new spaces on the east side that have opened up recently in the last year. But, there's still not a lot of places outside of like wine bars or clubs, that you can go and be surrounded by other queer women.
Yeah, that's a shame. How about in Orlando?
Nope.
Oh, I doubt it. It is the South.
I mean, we do have a really big gay population because of Disney. So the city is pretty gay. But yes, the same thing with, there's very few queer women's spaces across the country. And, that includes bookstores and cafes and everything.
Mm. Well, certainly the lesbian community stepped up during the AIDS crisis in the 80s, Did the gay community do anything to reciprocate to try to keep lesbian-owned businesses and social venues open in the 90s and early
Not
2000s?
not that I know of. And I think a lot of the women who were active, with ACT UP and with the other Queer Nation and other organizations, like they also maybe haven't been thanked enough. Like their stories really don't get told. And so that's why that was an important part of the documentary that I wanted to include, was, talking about all of the women who really came to support their gay brothers during the AIDS crisis.
Mm. What about the blame for the decline of a community of queers partially belong to the women themselves? Moving the Dyke March on the 90, in the 90s, like a surrender. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of talk right now with this Dyke March thing. I just don't even want to talk about it in a way because it's so disturbing with WeHo and their and I don't know how much you've kept up with it. The parade, the festival between the Los Angeles festival and the WeHo festival, and why they're not getting along. It's just like, come on, people, give me a break.
Yeah, there's constant fighting. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that is bureaucratic fighting too, not just, like the city of West Hollywood versus LA. And I'd love to see more people at Dyke Marches, because I know the Dyke Marches in San Francisco, New York, and Toronto. And, that's like, those are huge. And those are like, they get everybody from all over the LGBTQ plus community coming out for those events. And, even when I started going to the Dyke March in West Hollywood when it started, like in the early 90s, right? It still wasn't that big. Maybe it had like a couple thousand women at the most, but San Francisco, it's just like, tens of thousands of people. So that would be something amazing if LA could sustain and create an event like that.
Yeah, we got to get this film made. Finished. It was nice to hear transgender and people mentioned. Moving forward, how is the community working toward a unified LGBT identity for the Rainbow District that makes spaces for everyone, including POC and all the parts of the community?
Yeah, I think that was a big thing with the changing the name of it from Boys Town to the Rainbow District was really to be more inclusive of everyone. It's still something that's in progress. So I don't hear a lot of people going, okay, we're going to go to the Rainbow District yet. But it would be really great if, that comes to be the new nickname for that section of West Hollywood. I think it's a much better nickname. I think that, when I lived in West Hollywood for 20 something years, and it was always Boys Town. Like anytime I would walk down Santa Monica Boulevard towards San Vicente, it was just guys. And at one point I had a really very attractive male roommate, and I would walk down the street with him, and it's like I wasn't even there. Like nobody even, noticed me walking down the street with him. And so, like even going to like the local Starbucks or wherever, it's not that, I think that they shouldn't have these spaces, but it's like, well, what about our spaces too? Like, where do we go? And even, the participants in the film talk about, well, when they go out at night, to the bars and the clubs, like maybe there's a couple queer women there, but that's about it. So it's the same thing. It's about, how are we supposed to find each other and build our community and also activate our community if we don't have these spaces?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, and now the Abbey's up for sale, and it's just never ending right now. but we're going
Yeah,
to keep
and
a happy face and go ahead.
that's what I was going to say. I mean, you talk to young people, and I've talked about this project in classes with students, and they all want these spaces back,
Mhm.
and some of them have never even experienced being in a room full of queer women before. And so I think, it's a really valuable thing. I think part of it was, when transitioning to online and, meeting people online, and then with COVID happening, that we just lost the physical spaces. And so that's really like, this
Wow.
film's kind of a rallying call to like try
Yeah.
and get our space back.
Well, so what can we do to help besides what we're doing right now and getting the word out? And I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know last night for the first time, and I have a dear friend, Catherine Gray,
Mhm.
and she has a wonderful organization that I finally made the time and went over there, and they had She Angels Investors,
Mhm.
and I didn't quite understand until I got there, and this membership organization, and they gave, because of this investment group, they gave $5,000 to an organization that needed the money, and you would be a perfect, prime example of someone that needs the money to continue this education of, of folks that need to learn, what's went on in the past. It's history.
Yeah, it's a
So I'm
really
going to bring it up
important.
to her. Yeah,
Oh, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, I mean, I
absolutely.
feel like it's a history that, even people who have, lived in LA for a long period of time don't even know about. And and it's a story where I celebrate all of these women who were part of this history. So I think, the stories are really important to be told. And I think, like, just not having this in any kind of easily digestible form, like the documentary, which is fun to watch and entertaining and funny. And,
Sure.
like, it just makes it so much more accessible to everyone to know these stories and to not have them kind of forgotten and erased from history.
Mhm.
So,
So important. So how can we find you? How can our readers or viewers find you and maybe the movie or donate or all that?
sure. Yeah, so I'm at itchybproductions.com. So that's my company. It's Itchy Productions. And if they want to donate, they can go to the Center for Independent Documentary, or actually just type in lesbians in Boys Town, and that'll take them to my fiscal sponsor at the Center for Independent Documentary, which every donation made through their website is tax deductible.
Wonderful.
So that really gives people incentive, to donate. And if people are interested in donating $1,000 or more, they will become an associate producer on the film. So that is also something that we're offering to those wanting to make a bigger donation.
It's so great. Good for you, Betsy. Gosh, definitely.
Thank
And
you.
aside from this film, what are you going to work on next, or what are you working on?
Actually, I'm working on, I mentioned Dreaming in Somali, and that's a feature-length documentary that I'm working on that is a collaborative project working with Somali women in the Twin Cities who are community organizers and who are stepping up and really making a difference in their communities in a number of different ways. One is a senator, a state senator, the youngest state senator ever. One is a police officer. One is a psychotherapist. So one is an educator. So we're really, allowing them to tell their own stories and their own struggles with creating change, and also their successes with, making the Twin Cities a better place to live for everyone.
Good for you. I love
Thank
it. I
you.
love the work. That's great. Great, great.
Thank you.
Well, we're the Hollywood Times dot today, and our YouTube channel is the Hollywood Times Official, and I'll be getting you out the article with the clip from our interview here. And just so glad that we know each other and that we're going to continue our friendship and just going to help you out here because I believe in you. I believe in this
Thank you
film
so
for sure.
Thank you so much, Valerie. I really
Okay,
appreciate that.
absolutely. Keep in touch.
I
And I'm
will.
coming to Disney World. It's okay. I'm a kid at heart.
That will be fun.
All right. Thanks, babe. Have a great
Okay.
rest of your day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.